Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Office Hours webinar. If you are joining us for the first time, we are so excited to have you. And if you are joining us after last month's Office Hours webinar, welcome back. Our team loves the opportunity to get together with you on a monthly basis and talk about recently released product features. If you're on the chat, go ahead and drop where you're from. We'd love to know where you're joining from. We have a fantastic lineup of people from our product and design team joining us today. Oh, we got some people from Florida, Kentucky, Illinois, Manchester, Connecticut. We have a lot of people from our team out on the East Coast, Los Angeles. Shout out to Cleveland. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys again so much for joining. I'm going to turn time over to our amazing team of guides who will be presenting key product features with you today to give a little bit of an introduction. We'll go ahead and start with Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Compte. I'm the Director of Design here at GUIDEcx. The design team has been hard at work over the last several months, working through updating the app design. So we're excited to present some of those changes to you today.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. My name is Cameron Crossett. I'm a product manager here at GUIDEcx. As a fun fact, we live here in Utah where there's the greatest snow on earth. And I went skiing for the first time in like 30 years the other day, and I had the time of my life.
And he was fantastic, in case anyone on the call is wondering.
You're too kind, Stacy. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I'm Ben Stevens. I'm on the product team as well. And I was there to witness Cameron, and I will back it every word of it up. He was fantastic, and hopefully we have him hooked now. So called this out last time. If any of you haven't made it to Utah yet for the snow, it's been quite a year.
And I'm Chris Alewa, Director of Product, focused on our wisdom and automated insights platform. We're talking a little bit about Gantt today. Interesting thing about me is that I'm trying to be the biggest geek on the team. I created this helmet. It's kind of a combination Top Gun Maverick / X-Wing pilot tribute, just because I like to pretend to be young, even though I'm an old man now.
We all think Chris works in the coolest office out of anyone on the team. Thanks for sharing. To give you guys an overview of what we'll be talking about today, Ryan will start us off by covering the new navigation, which you should have seen roll out yesterday in your GUIDEcx instances, also giving a little bit of a teaser for upcoming UI updates that will help boost your performance and just drive consistency across the application. Cam will talk about some user deactivation flow changes that will be coming to you later this week. Ben will cover template table upgrades that we released earlier in the month, as well as list view, which is releasing later today and very exciting. And then to bring up the end, we'll have Chris talking about the long-awaited and anticipated Gantt View. That being said, Ryan, go ahead and take it away on new nav.
All right, thanks so much. So like I mentioned earlier, our design team here at Guide has been busy building out a new look and feel of the navigation. If you've been with Guide for some time, you'll know that we recently had a brand rollout this last year, updating our external brand. So now we're going to adopt and bring that brand more into our app design. So this is going to be the first step in our updated look and feel. So you'll start to notice throughout the app things starting to change. And we're going through and we're just making updates to the interface. A couple things you'll see with this is our biggest goal is to make things easier for you and your team. So ultimately, we want to make an environment where there isn't as much thinking or overhead when it comes to navigating through the app. So that's one thing that we've decided to do with this new navigation to help you get through the work that needs to be done. So another thing too is you'll notice that the look and feel has changed, but under the covers, a lot of the performance has changed as well. So our engineers have been working really hard to make it a more performant application. So we'll see speed increases as we go through and update some of these things. So let me go ahead and I'll jump right into a demo. And like Stacy had mentioned, you should be able to see this navigation. Right now, it was released yesterday. So you should be able to see your navigation based on your workspace. So you'll see your logo for your company here in this workspace here. And then you'll see a few things have changed. And again, this is an effort to simplify it and make it a little bit easier for you to move through the application. So just to point out a few things that we've changed and moved around. One thing we've done is we've actually created a workspace header here. So now you can access your settings from this header. And this will give you access to your profile settings. It'll give you access to your users. So you can go in and add and deactivate users as needed. And all the other things that you were able to do inside of company details are now located here at the top of the header. Another thing to point out in this sub menu is we've actually moved third-party and brands to this menu to kind of declutter the primary navigation and again, simplify that experience so it makes it easier for you to go through the application and get your work done. We've also, we still have maintained the collapse and expand on the navigation. So if you need a little bit more real estate to do your work, you can do that as well. And Stacy, am I missing anything? I think that's everything that we've talked about and everything that we've upgraded. One thing I want to mention is this is our V1 of this navigation. We are going to roll out additional updates and we'll do that over time. And as you come to these office hours, we'll actually be presenting more of those changes as we move forward.
Ryan, something else I love about the navigation is we've kind of enhanced the white labeling experience. So you're seeing black here in the navigation, which is our default color if you haven't gone ahead and set your company color. But in settings, you're able to navigate to the white labeling section and upload your specific hex code, hex color for your company, and the navigation rail will reflect that color. So we're trying to take kind of your brand and put it front and center for kind of a unified and consistent experience.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention is you'll notice that we have with this update, we've kind of removed that top rail. So you'll see in here, we are going to update this messaging here to make sure that we're matching what we have here in the navigation. But we have moved our search, our notifications, and at mentions to the side rail to make it more of a centralized and localized experience. So there isn't two different ways that you can navigate. So you'll notice on the sidebar that we have notifications, at mentions, and search, and they work very similar to what we had before. The one thing with search is now it's a modal. And so now it's more of a global search across the application, and it drives your focus to this central location. So you'll notice here that we still have this top bar, but this is going to be changing here shortly because we've removed that top bar, again, in an effort to make this an easier experience for you and your team.
Thanks, Ryan. If anyone on the call has any questions, failed to mention this, but just as we're going, drop them in the Q&A section and we'll get to them. If there's any that are unanswered at the end, we'll also leave time for Q&A. But it looks like we do have a question that has come in. Is there any specific reason there are two locations for company logo?
Yeah, so right now we only have, I might need some clarification on that question because right now the company logo exists at the top of the primary navigation.
Yes.
Below, you'll notice that we have our GUIDEcx logo. So this is another effort for us to bring in our branding into the application and kind of imbue that branding that we've created externally, internally to the application. So right now you can click on the app logo to see, you'll have your company ID here, essentially your company logo. But yeah, Stacey, if you get some additional clarification on that, as far as the second place but right now, this is where your logo will exist in that workspace.
Yeah, I think you've answered that perfectly. We have moved your company logo, which you may have been familiar with at the bottom of the navigation, to now live at the top of the navigation. And you will see the GUIDEcx logo at the bottom of the navigation rail, which will just take you to the GUIDEcx site, should you click on that. Let's see. Julie Ryan says, our logo on the left pane is cut off. Is there anything that can be done to expand out that section? It looks odd. Do you have any best guidelines around maybe logo size to fit into that navigation rail, Ryan?
I can actually
Oh,
for
go
1
ahead,
second.
Chris.
We were talking with engineering about that just yesterday, and it just comes down to a couple of the different logos that we have stored for each company. And we were actually going to run a migration task to automatically fix that for most companies. So that's something that other people have reported and that we have a way to automate the fix for.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Coming soon.
Yeah,
Any
and
other-
as we iterate through this and as we optimize for this, we will send out best practice guidelines for those images so that you can have the most crisp image and it looks the best and represents your company correctly.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Again, feel free to ask questions as we go along, but we will move on to our next section.
Okay, so carrying on for our new look and feel, we're going to also be doing some UI updates. So not just the navigation, but we are going to be updating the app. And I mentioned earlier that we're going to be doing this over time. So you will see pieces of the app updating as far as typography, colors, and then a lot of our components will change. So we're going to be adding a little bit more white space, a little bit more room, adding a little bit of air to the application to make it so that, again, it's an easier experience and that it's easier for you to get your work done. So if you're curious about the look and feel, there is a website, and we're calling our design system Timber because, again, it plays well into our branding. But if you're curious about what we're doing with the new UI, you can go to this website, design.guidecx.com, and I'll just give you a little bit of a teaser here. You'll see that we have our branding guidelines here. We have some of our foundations, and that's colors and typography. We also have some of our components that we're going to be updating. So again, if you have any curiosity as to what it's going to look like, now the one caveat is this is outside the context of the application, but we will be going through and we will be updating the app incrementally with these new components and features. So take a look at this. This is public facing. You can come in if you have any questions, you can reach out to our product team. I mentioned here that we are going to be updating tables, and that's one of our big UI updates. So come to the next office hours or the next one after that, and we'll make sure to update you on some of those changes. So, and I can't stress enough how much work this has been for our design and product teams. We've really wanted to create a much better experience inside the application, create something that's more performant and something that looks and feels a little bit more modern.
Awesome. Thank
Great.
you, Ryan.
Stacy, you want me to jump right in?
Yeah, jump right in, Cam. People are
All
excited.
right.
You're getting claps on the chat, Ryan. So people are excited. I too am excited to see these UI updates that will be coming.
Great. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about user deactivation. This plays right into some of the earlier comments that Ryan was making about the app being more intuitive as well as more performant. And this is an enhancement that came out of a need to address two primary concerns with user deactivation. The first was that we didn't account for functions when it came to deactivating users. So those of you that use our resource management portion of the tool know that you can have specific skills or functions associated with your team members, and it makes the assigned tasks really easy to where those get navigated to the proper people that can fulfill those tasks and responsibilities. When it came to deactivating those users, there was no way to do that in that process. The second thing, which was a little bit more performant based, was that at times, if there was a user that had a lot of projects or tasks that hadn't been completed, and you were trying to reassign all of that, you would get to a screen where you would essentially get taken hijack your experience, and you had to stay on that screen until that entire transfer of tasks and projects was done. So even though you wanted to go in and just mark it and move on with your day, you got stuck on that screen. And again, depending on how many were there, we also had instances where people were having timeouts, that everything was working, but there was just so many that it couldn't handle it. So we've addressed that with this new modal to avoid your experience getting hijacked and and to account for function. So we're going to dive in, and I love these opportunities to show the product. And we'll go straight to users. And so the flow of deactivating a user is exactly what it has been for the most part. So you find your user. All right. Okay, nothing like doing something on the fly that doesn't work. All right, let me try one more time. Okay, well, let's go back to this screenshot right here because this will cover it. I don't know if I accidentally hit enter at one point today, but there's two pieces here. As you see, when this user that I was deactivating, Randy, or Rusty, there we go. I was typing Randy.
We want to
All
keep
right.
Randy if we can.
We want to keep, I was like, whew, this is not going as planned. All right, Rusty, sorry. We scroll down and we click on remove access. When we get here, you'll notice that you've got a different modal. You kind of saw it at the very beginning. It showed the old modal, and it's updating here because it knows, hey, this person has tasks that have functions. And so in this case, Rusty has Java and React, and JavaScript and React as skills, and he has one task assigned to each of those. So when you go into this drop down, it's going to be a more consolidated list where it's only showing people that have those functions. Again, we'll do one right here with Andre. And then the remaining tasks that don't have any functions left are just all collected like they usually are. And when you get in here, you'll see that this has that much larger list of anyone in your organization because it's there's no skills associated with it. So we'll give them to Ryan. And then lastly, there's a couple of projects, and we will give those to Riley, and I can click remove user and save changes. And this is that that message that you'll get. This will be that last step that lets you know all of this is going to happen in the background. And if there's a problem, we'll email you or alert you that there was an issue, and that way the job can finish and you can just move on with your day. So I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. You have to know who you're looking for before you search. So there we go. And let me just come back here to projects. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, thanks, Cam.
Great. Well, yeah, if there's no questions, then
Sorry, Ben, there actually is one question that I'm just looking at in the chat. And it's, what are the project statuses that this affects? For example, someone leaves the company. I don't want to lose the history of completed canceled projects the person worked on.
The statuses of the projects remain the same. Like if a project was like it's the exact same user deactivation that we had in the past. We didn't change any of the parameters. So it's, if a project is open and you transfer it, it remains open. If it's late, it's late. All those things remain in place.
Awesome, thanks. I think that was the only question, so go ahead, Ben.
am I okay, Ryan? Good to go. Cool. Well, yeah, thanks, Cameron and Ryan. I'm really excited about the work that we've been doing. You'll notice a theme. Really, what we're focused on as a product team is making your all's experience better inside of the app. And when I say better, I mean more simple, more intuitive, and more performant. So this next thing I want to share with you is the templates table. We felt like it was a quick win as we sat down with different users and as we kind of studied their workspaces. We found that the template libraries tended to get a little bit cluttered, and we felt like, as we looked at the analytics and saw the different actions that different users were taking, that there was a quick win to bring some of these actions forward. And so as you visit the template library now, you'll see, first of all, you'll see that in the publish column, there's a toggle to turn on and off, right? And so where that's going to have the major effect is inside of your project creation, is you're looking at selecting different templates. Templates that are published will show up on that list. Templates that are not published will not show up on that list. So if a template is still kind of pending or not ready, then definitely leave it unpublished. If it's outdated, leave it unpublished or even delete it. And so there's the published option. There's also 3 other options of editing, duplicating, and deleting. Whereas previously you might have had to dig in a couple clicks deep to access these actions. Now they're straight on the table. So really just trying to help all our users maintain good template library hygiene. I think pretty straightforward there. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the list view. I want to leave plenty of time for Chris and the Gantt, the big show. So list view, again, following that same theme of just making the user experience better. Well, maybe the best way to jump into list view is just to actually show you inside of the app. So as we come into a project plan, and let me go ahead and minimize this, you'll see that previously we had board view and timeline. You'll notice those have been replaced with list view and Gantt view at the top as options. So I'm going to go ahead and select list view. It's going to bring me to this view. And so the hope here, right, is to create, again, that simple and intuitive view. And so you can see that milestones and tasks and task groups are stacked linearly here. And so from top to bottom, you can kind of easily scan and see which tasks and which milestones are available here. This view has all the same functionality as will eventually have all the functionality as the board view. In its initial release, it will go out without bulk edit or filters. And so that's one thing that are on the roadmap coming out in the next few weeks. In addition to that, drag and drop. And so drag and drop is just around the corner. So the ability to kind of move things around on this board. So as we think about the roadmap and where this feature is going, it's going to be drag and drop coming next, filters, bulk edit, and then also taking this whole experience and moving it into templates, where then you could create templates in this same list view experience. Kind of a fun fact about the list view is our very own, our founder and CEO, Peter Ord, when he initially drew up the idea for GUIDEcx, the list view was one of those key features that he had wanted to build from the very beginning. So it's pretty cool to see that this feature coming to fruition. And as we've tested it with users, they've been really delighted with just, again, the scannability and the ease with which you can kind of see the whole project.
Ben, there's a question in the chat for you. Can you export the list view? Sorry if I missed it.
So that is not an option right now. That is an interesting insight. Would love to chat with you further and understand that need a little bit better. So feel free to definitely reach out or submit an insight regarding exporting.
Perfect. Natalia, if you are on or will be listening later, you had submitted a comment in the registration page about some of the screens being a little bit busy and congested within the application. And hopefully this is something that solves a pain point that you have with these tasks and task groups nested within milestones and this vertical grid-like structure. Like Ben said, very easy to kind of scan and navigate, and it's a very streamlined and simplified view. So you have to let us know if you like it. And then we also had a question from Joni, kind of related about project and plan views. Have you improved the My Task view so it appears in the same order as tasks in the plan view?
So we're going to be kind of iteratively going through all these different views within the plan. And again, my tasks and some of these other views are on the roadmap to be addressed next. And it kind of, again, relates to Ryan's earlier talking about applying the design system, the timber design system to the whole app. If there's feedback around that My Task tab, would love to, again, chat more about ways to improve that.
Perfect. Thank you. We're excited about this. And like Ben said, this will be coming later today, so you can look out for that in your application very soon. And Chris, we'll round it out with you talking about Gantt View.
All right. Well, what I love about Gantt is that it really does build upon a lot of the questions that have come up in this webinar and some of the other announcements that have been made. So, for example, when we started off with Ryan talking about the new navigation and the significant increase of screen real estate you get when you're able to collapse that navigation, that speaks to the core of the value of Gantt. We really want to be able to provide to our internal executives or our external customers a snapshot glance of the entire project's progress, where visualization can really step up and give us answers to questions that we didn't even realize that we had when we were maybe just looking at some of the dates or the labels and names of our tasks and milestones. And when you're able to really see the relationship of tasks on each other and their dependencies and the way that milestones all stack together, the benefit for you is that you're able to really quickly show them whether you're on track or not. And either way, when they can realistically expect for the project to be done. And when we think about some of the other requests that came up besides just being able to see everything at a glance, there was the other request just a moment ago on list view around export. And even though I'm not going to be able to demo export for you today, that is something that's just right around the corner for future versions of Gantt that we'll be gradually releasing over the next few weeks here. And we most definitely already have plans and already have most of the code finished for us to be able to export Gantt to PDF or PNG or even the raw data of XLS. But one of the really nice things about Gantt, most of all, is its ability to give people that real live view, where sometimes with an export, you might be stuck with a snapshot that's already become stale the moment that you save it. Whereas with this view-only version that we're starting with today, you can even become confident eventually sharing that with your customers and know that they're not going to have the capability to go and expand the scope of a project without your approval. That they'll be able to see everything, but they won't be able to make changes quite yet. So let's get into it and show how it looks. So in here we go. We'll shift over now. And I love list view because of how fast it is. I love board view because of how familiar it is. But I love Gantt view because of how flexible it is. So some of the examples of this flexibility is the ability for me to say, hey, I really want the chart to take up the vast majority of the space. Then second, being able to decide whether I want to just have it automatically snap to a view where I can see the majority of the length of the project. And then after that, to be able to go in and really expand as much as possible a number of dozens and dozens of tasks all on the view at the same time. So in here, I can really crank down this row height. And as I make that pretty tight, if that makes legibility fall down a little bit, I can also reduce the bar margin and have things be a little bit closer together. But in here, that's what really helps me to see, again, that relationship between all these milestones and tasks. And if there's something in here that really would help me to have even more insight, for example, like focusing on things that are only assigned to a specific person, I could say, hey, it looks like Jenny is a pretty important person in this project. Oh, let me see here. Everybody has demo demons, right? Clear that out. Let's try one more. Let's try the medium priority. I'm probably just messing up my spelling like Cam's two R names that he was messing around with. But let's say, for example, we were starting to look at things that were medium priority. Now that's just snapping me to those things. So it's really easy to miss the fact that you can interact with each of these either by sorting them or by filtering them. So even though it's not something that just really jumps out on the screen and screams at you to try it out, I do recommend that you give it a shot, and you'll notice that each of the column filters are data type aware. So that if, for example, you really wanted to focus on things that happen on February 3rd, you could focus on that as well. So from here, what we've heard loud and clear from everyone is that it would be beautiful if at this point I could then expand beyond these filters and begin to make edits. I really wish that I could just take the edge of this bar and just drag it to be a shorter amount of time, or the edge of this task to drag it to be a longer amount of time, or maybe even to drag these dependencies and define new ones. And so that's exactly what we're working on now. We're very close to being finished, but we didn't want to have you wait. So we'll give you this read-only version now. This will be continued, what your customers will always be able to see, as long as it's just filtered down to things that are not hidden from them. And then we'll roll back to you here with some good news here in just a few weeks to show you how you can make those edits in the chart, or even just by double clicking on values of these cells here in the table, and make changes really quickly there without having to always do the in and out jump of the edit pane that you might have become familiar with our task editing in the past. So there's still a lot of good news to come with Gantt, but this is a great start, and we're excited to hear your feedback as it's activated for you really soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. There's a question for you here in the chat. Will the coming exports reflect those filter selections?
Yes, they will. They'll take whatever your latest filters are and make sure that it exports that version.
Awesome. We've answered. Are there any other questions from anyone on the call regarding Gantt View or anything else we've talked about? If so, drop them in, we'll answer. And if not, thank you for joining us. We, again, love having the opportunity to chat with you.
Hey, Stacy.
Yes.
One quick thing that I wanted to follow back up on. Jason had asked a question inside the webinar chat in regards to the projects and what got reassigned. And the reassignment is only of active projects. So I was doing a test offline here to double check that. So Jason, when you see that bottom selection in that modal where it's asking about projects, it is only moving active projects. The historical projects that were in a person's name, if you search them in the project list with that filter, the little project manager guide will have their picture or their initials, and you hover over it and you can see that. However, if you do dive deeper into the details, you'll actually see that their name is removed from the when you're inside that drawer. So we didn't change any of that functionality. That part was working exactly the same way it was beforehand, but I just wanted to offer some details around that. So you're only transferring live projects with user deactivation, just in general.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam. Our next office hours webinar will be Thursday, March 30th, the same time as this, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We hope to see you there. I can tell you, you won't want to miss it. There's a lot of exciting things that are coming in the next month. Thank you again for being wonderful customers of ours. We appreciate you and so enjoy talking to you, and we will talk with you next time.